Hi everyone, and welcome to my webinar on 5 reasons you should use homeopathy in your life. My name is Tim Roberts, and I live on the Sunshine Coast. I'm a licensed homeopath, and there's my website there, www.organon.net.au, and my email address, info@organon.net.au. There's a picture of me. Just to give you a bit of background with me, I am a fully trained science teacher. And when I used to live in Sydney, probably about 12 years ago, my daughter suffered with really, really bad eczema. And we tried pretty much everything that we could think of at the time as far as conventional medicine went. And we were really left feeling pretty empty about the treatment, because every time we applied the conventional treatment, it would actually make my daughter worse. We went through a really rough patch there for about a year or so, until one day a friend of mine suggested that we go and take her to see a homeopath, which I did. So I took her to see a homeopath in French's Forest at the time in Sydney. And this particular homeopath gave my daughter one dose of a homeopathic remedy. And I remember specifically giving her this one dose in the room. And I actually thought it was, had no idea what was going on. I thought it was a bit of a waste of time, to be honest. But to my surprise, over the next month or so, my daughter's eczema started to progressively improve, to a point where I would wake up in the morning and it was better. Her eczema was really bad. It was pretty much all over her body, on her knees and on her hands. It would weep constantly. We would have to put gloves on her hands at night time just to stop her scratching. It was that bad. And to see her eczema improving to a point where you could hardly notice it a month later really just blew me away. So I, being a science teacher, I had to figure out what was actually going on, because I didn't understand what was going on. So I then started looking into homeopathy, started researching it myself, started to understand the science behind homeopathy. And then when I started taking it myself and with other family members, I realised that what happened with my daughter wasn't a fluke. So I pretty much said to myself, right, that's it. I need to learn this, which I did. So I went to college and started learning. Took me about 9 years to complete, and here I am, licensed homeopath, ex-school teacher, working in the Sunshine Coast now. But I absolutely love my job, and I could never do anything else. Just to start off with this webinar, I wanted to talk to you exactly about what is homeopathy, because I would have to say that the main reason people don't try homeopathy with their health is that people just don't understand it. I know that's the way it was with me. I didn't know what it was. There's so much negative press out there on homeopathy by people who just don't understand, people who just pretty much uneducated in the art of homeopathy. So I thought I'd just spend a little bit of time just to fill you in on what homeopathy actually is. It's a medical art that follows the principle of similia similibus centura, or like cures like. Now that's, please excuse my Latin, it's not particularly great. But basically what that means is that if you were to take a particular substance in your body and it would create certain symptoms, that medicine would actually cure similar symptoms that would be presented naturally in a sick person. Just to give you an idea of what I mean, I'm sure most people who are listening now may have had too much coffee in the past. And you think about what those symptoms were. It could be fast pulse, heart palpitations, wide awake. So what the notion of like cures like means is that if a person were to come into a homeopathic clinic with symptoms of insomnia, headache, irritability, or an overstimulated nervous system, the homeopathic remedy Coffea cruda may be chosen to alleviate those symptoms. Now, that's pretty much what homeopathy is. You could think of another remedy, maybe if you've been swimming in the ocean and you've had salt water in your eyes or in your face or up your nose. You know what happens. It runs. You get itchy eyes. You get a sore throat. Following those lines, if I were to give somebody who came to see me in my homeopathic clinic who had itchy eyes, a sore throat, runny nose, if I were to give them a homeopathic dose of salt water, it would actually cure those symptoms. Oops, sorry about that. And just going back to the coffee, it has been shown that a homeopathic dosage of coffee may settle the symptoms of insomnia in such cases. Yep. Just to keep going. Homeopathy is now used worldwide. It has a 200-year history of clinical experience. It is recognised by the World Health Organization as a valid form of healthcare. Homeopathy has legal recognition as an individual system of medicine in 42 countries and is recognised as a part of complementary and alternative medicine in 28 others. Mahatma Gandhi said, homeopathy cures a larger percentage of cases than any other method of treatment and is beyond all doubt safer, more economical, and the most complete medical science. Now, homeopathy was founded by a German physician or doctor, Dr. Samuel Hahnemann. He had a long life between 1755 and 1843. As well as founding homeopathy, Dr. Hahnemann was instrumental in the successful treatment of the clinically insane, deeming that the then treatment was cruel and harmful, as well as a formal recognition of poor hygiene and as contributory cause of the spread of cholera and typhoid fever. So this guy was a pretty talented and intelligent man, and he founded homeopathy. Now he actually left the medical world, or the conventional medical world, because he became disillusioned with the then medical practices of the disastrous results of the treatment of using crude chemicals in the sick, particularly mercury. Now, mercury was and is still well known to be a very poisonous substance. However, it does have quite a lot of healing capabilities. However, back in Hahnemann's day, crude doses of mercury were administered to the sick to try to get them healthy, but unfortunately, a lot of them died just because they were given the mercury because it was so poisonous. Some survived, some died. And in Hahnemann's viewpoint, this is just, it was not a good thing that so many people were dying. If you go back to Hippocrates, who was the father of medicine, the number one rule for Hippocrates was never ever do harm. And the treatment of the sick using mercury that was actually killing people was going against that most important rule of doing no harm. So he left Western medicine, and he was wandering around for a while, wondering what he was going to do. There's a picture of him there. Until basically one day he decided that he would take a particular substance. He would actually self-administer a particular substance. Now, this substance was Peruvian bark. Now, Peruvian bark was a substance that was used to treat malaria a couple of hundred years ago. And nobody really understood at the time why this particular substance worked in treating and curing malaria in the sick. Back then, the actual hypothesis is that Peruvian bark was very bitter, and the bitter taste basically cured the malaria. Now, this wasn't Hahnemann with a very scientific mind. The fact that people said that it cured malaria because it was bitter just didn't ring true for him. So he decided that he would actually take a dose of Peruvian bark himself, just to see what effect it would have on him. And to his surprise, what he notices when he took the Peruvian bark, he developed symptoms very much like that of malaria. And when he stopped taking the Peruvian bark, the symptoms would go away. So he then surmised that the reason that Peruvian bark was successful in the treatment of malaria was that it created symptoms similar to those of malaria in the sick. And it actually stimulated the body to cure itself of the disease. And Peruvian bark was the very first homeopathic remedy used in the treatment of the sick. Whoop. I want to go back to that page. Hang on a second. Where are we? Now, this is important. Peruvian bark is still used today in the treatment of malaria. You may know it better as quinine. Okay, so after Hahnemann experienced the effects of Peruvian bark, he then progressively began to prove other medicines on himself and his assistants. And basically, a group of about 15 people compiled an in-depth homeopathic materia medica of medicines, which showed the different symptoms that these medicines produce in the healthy, and thus their subsequent treatment of symptoms in the sick. And over the next 250 years, homeopaths have continued Hahnemann's tradition and his legacy, and now there are thousands of remedies in the hands of trained homeopaths, each with specific characteristics and potential treatment for illness. Now, this is quite an important point, because the important point I want to mention here is in trained homeopaths. There are a lot of people out there who say they are a licensed homeopath or a trained homeopath. They might have done a couple of months worth of training in homeopathy. My recommendation is if you're seriously considering using homeopathy in your life, find a trained homeopath or a licensed homeopath. In Australia, they are a member of AROH, A-R-O-H, which is the Australian Registry of Homeopaths, and they're also probably a member of one of the associations. It could be the Australian Register of Homeopaths or HERA. So try to find a homeopath that is actually a licensed homeopath. That way you can be sure that the person you're seeing has had the training that is needed for you and does have access to the medicines that you would require to get well and truly on the path of getting better. Alright, so here we go. Okay, so the 5 reasons why you should use homeopathy in your life. Alright, so number 1. Homeopathy treats the body as an integrative whole, not as separate parts. Now, what that means is that quite often when we go see a licensed medical practitioner, they might recommend you to go and see a specialist. It could be an ear, nose and throat specialist, or an immunologist, or possibly a cardiologist. With homeopathy, we see all the different systems, all the different parts of your body as a whole person. And symptoms that you may have in a particular part, you might have a sore throat, or you might have diarrhea, or you may have gout. So any symptoms that you have in a particular part, a homeopath will see them as as a flag for prescribing treatment for the whole body. Excuse me. So we are not treating an individual part of the body. we're treating the whole body. A symptom is simply seen as a way for a symptom is seen as simply a way for the whole being to express how it is out of balance and its disease. Please note the spelling of disease. It means dis, which is the opposite to, and ease. Okay, you're just out of balance. So it is through the investigation of the totality of symptoms that a properly trained homeopath can identify the correct remedy, potency, and dosage. Now this is important too, because a homeopath might see 2 patients in a day that could have a sore throat, or could have asthma, or could have eczema. Let's pick one. Let's say a homeopath might see a patient that has 2 people have eczema. Now the chances of both those people walking out of the door with the same remedy, or the same homeopathic remedy, is very slim. Because even though they both may be suffering from eczema, there would be other flags or other characteristics that would be unique to each particular patient. And it's those characteristics that actually distinguish between different remedies. A very poorly trained homeopath will basically use a principle of, if you have eczema, you give them this medicine, and it's just a sign of possibly not being trained properly, or possibly not having the perseverance with homeopathy. It's very important to understand that even though you may have one symptom that you might be experiencing, it's the whole body that is creating that symptom. Okay, so when you go and see a homeopath, he will treat you as a whole and not as individual parts. Next one, homeopathy will work with the body to heal itself rather than becoming reliant on an external source. So I like to use this analogy with my patients. Okay, so imagine your health is like a pond or a very still lake. When healthy, the pond or the lake is very still. When you're sick, the pond is having some ripples. It's experiencing a disturbance. The stronger, there goes a spelling mistake there, the stronger the ripples, the more sick you are. All right, so the question could be, well, how did the ripples start in the body in the first place, or in the pond in the first place? Well, that's simply a matter of the environment, or possibly a thought, or possibly some sort of contagion that the actual body has picked up. Now, basically, the way the body is supposed to work is that every single person has what homeopaths call a vital force. Now, a vital force is the body's ability to manifest enough energy to counteract those ripples and make the pond still again. The stronger the vital force, the quicker it will overcome the disturbance in its pond. Now, a homeopathic remedy will basically stimulate the vital force to overcome the disturbance that is occurring in the pond. Okay, so that's the way a remedy works. It's stimulating the body's energy to recognize that there is a disturbance, first of all, in the body, and to give it enough energy to overcome or to counteract the ripples that are in that pond. And that's basically the way homeopathy will work. Now, this is very, very different to, let's just say, modern Western medicine. If you have a runny nose, or if you have a sore throat, or if you have tonsillitis, or if you have asthma, you'll go to a doctor and they will give you a medicine that will basically dry up the runny nose or kill the bacteria in the throat. It may suppress the body's ability to create asthma. Now, homeopaths see that particular action of a medicine as being counterproductive or the opposite to what the body actually requires. The body is creating a symptom. We shouldn't be taking a medicine that is taking the symptom away. We need to be supporting the body to work with the symptoms so it can naturally overcome the disturbance. A homeopath sees that any external source that works at eliminating a symptom will impact the body's vital force and its innate ability to heal itself. And when you think about it, this is why we're having so many problems with bacteria and antibiotics not working, because our bodies have become very reliant on antibiotics for its existence, and it's lost the innate ability to defeat the bacteria itself. And the bacteria is thus becoming stronger and stronger, and we're losing the battle with bacterial infections in the body. So we need to learn to stimulate the body so that our body's immune system, which is by far the most powerful way that we can possibly defeat any infection, is our own immune system. It's created to destroy these pathogens. It's created to help us work back towards 100% health. So homeopathy will work with the body to build up its vital force so that it can stimulate the immune system to defeat any contagion that it may be experiencing, or any symptom that it may have created. So it's very, very important. Homeopathy will work with the body to heal itself, rather than us becoming reliant on an external source or an external medicine. Number 3, homeopathy is totally complementary to other forms of medication. So every day, I have patients who are on medication of some sort. It could be a pharmaceutical medicine, it could be a herbal medicine, and it's important to know that homeopathy is 100% complementary to any other form of medication. It's because it's so unique in its action and works so differently to other forms of medication, in that it will stimulate the body's own healing mechanism. It will not harm the action of the other medication. So, and also homeopathy uses a unique process of potentization, making it energetically superior to any other form of medication, and it is not toxic to the body. So it is totally complementary, totally. So it doesn't matter what medicine you're taking, for any condition that you may have been prescribed, homeopathy will not contraindicate any medication, which is fantastic. Right, homeopathy is cost effective. So I've got a little picture there. It says homeopathy is so well trusted that 300 million patients in more than 80 nations use it. That's every day, by the way. In 2013, Australia spent 9.4% of its GDP on healthcare. This equates to $147 billion US. And the vast majority of that money was Medicare-related healthcare. Close to 10% of the entire GDP of the nation. Now, unfortunately, this is totally unsustainable. We have more and more people leaving private healthcare. We have more and more people becoming reliant on external sources for their own health. and it's putting so much pressure on an already overburdened healthcare system. That is just totally not sustainable. Homeopathy is a cheap, effective form of medicine. It is cheap to create, it has a high shelf life, and it is effective in its dosage. In the EU, homeopathy is the #1 alternative treatment for clinical physicians. In 2004, a survey of French pharmacists was conducted and found that an astounding 94.5% reported advising pregnant women to use homeopathic medicines. Basically, I think the most important thing with this slide is to understand is that if we continue going down the path that we are going, eventually our health system will fall apart. Okay, it can't cope now. We've got the hospitals falling apart. We've got more and more people becoming reliant on antibiotics. Eventually, it will fall over. We're going to have to eventually start looking for alternatives. And if you see here, homeopathy is very, very cost effective. It's cheap. It'll last practically forever. And it's incredibly effective. So it's a very positive step towards the next point, which is basically helping you taking control of your health and your life. Now, as I said before, today so many of us are reliant on external measures for our health. All right, we've just gotten to the point where a lot of us just totally disrespect our physical, mental, emotional, spiritual bodies, because it is just so easy to do. And we know that if we happen to get sick, we can just go to the doctor, get a prescription to take the symptoms of an illness away. And to top it all off, it's free. Medicare will cover everything. And it's actually making us a slave to the healthcare system, a slave to the government, a slave to the economy. We can do whatever we want to our bodies because we know we can just go and get some medicine that will take our symptoms away. Now, an alternative would be to go and get a consultation with a licensed homeopath, and that means a member of ARROW, the Australian Registry of Homeopaths. He or she will point out to you why you are getting the symptoms you are getting and help you take positive steps to heal your body. A homeopathic remedy in conjunction with a licensed homeopath will help you take control of your life and lead a healthier existence. All right, so that's it for the slideshow today. Just going back to my details. If you need to get in contact with me, there's my website, organon.net.au. My email address is info@organon.net.au. I'm working out of the Sunshine Coast in Queensland, but I do hold Skype consultations and phone consultations as well. Feel free to get in contact with me. And if you've never tried homeopathy before, the question is, well, what have you got to lose? What have you got to lose? What if taking a homeopathic medicine will give you the results that my daughter got so many years ago? What if taking a homeopathic medicine will actually start to put your body on the right track? Will start to open your eyes that yes, you can get healthier. There is a way forward. You don't need to be reliant on external sources to help you feel better. The most important thing to remember is that the person that knows you the best is you. It's not your doctor. It's not your homeopath. It's not your naturopath. It's you. You're a very intelligent person. Your body knows what it's doing. All you have to do is give it some support, and you can live an amazing, healthy, robust life. Just take a chance. Get in contact with me or another homeopath and take a chance. And sit back and enjoy the way that life is meant to be. Enjoy what it means again to actually feel really, really healthy. Because it is possible. Homeopathy is not going anywhere. It's not going anywhere. It works, it's effective, it's easy, it's cheap, and it will give you enough power to take control of your life forever. Give it a go. Alright, so that's it today. Thanks very much, and I look forward to speaking to you soon. Okay, cheers. Bye.